Right now, the cinematic world is getting absolutely blindsided by a massive storm called the Backrooms. This flick just pulled in a mind-blowing $80 million plus during its opening weekend alone, and its absolute domination at the box office shows zero signs of slowing down. Based on one of the internet's most legendary creepypasta lore pieces, this masterpiece was directed by a literal 20-year-old YouTuber named Kane Parsons. Honestly, The Backrooms is a living, breathing testament to how internet culture can comfortably march straight into mainstream Hollywood and completely flip the entire film industry on its head. But what's the actual deal with the Backrooms movie? Is this thing legitimately worth the insane amount of hype it's getting, or is it just another overrated run-of-the-mill horror flick coasting on a well-known internet brand? Well, how about we dive right in and dissect it together? The movie kicks off sometime in the early 1990s, centering around a guy named Clark. He's a divorced, alcoholic furniture store owner who's basically fighting tooth and nail just to keep his sinking business afloat. One night, while he's down in his store's creepy underground basement checking out some bizarre electrical glitches and flickering lights, the unthinkable happens. Out of nowhere, he literally glitches straight through the wall and lands smack dab in the middle of a mysterious— But what in the world is this twisted Backrooms place anyway? To put it simply, it's a completely separate, mind-bending alternate dimension made up of a never-ending labyrinth with thousands of rooms and creepy corridors. Every single corner here is cluttered with bizarre random objects and busted-up furniture. But the real kicker is that every single wall is painted in the exact same sickly, washed-out yellow hue, with all the rooms dimly lit by the buzzing glare of flickering neon strip lights. It's a cursed, godforsaken place where the architecture and laws of physics from our world completely cease to exist. There is absolutely no end to how far this labyrinth stretches, and within just a few moments, our main guy Clark realizes a terrifying truth. He is definitely not alone in this vast emptiness, and something else is lurking in the shadows right alongside him. Desperate to crack the mystery of this bizarre dimension and document every square inch of it, Clark wastes no time roping in two of his store employees to film the entire expedition on a video camera. But as we all know, things rarely go according to plan in a horror movie. Right on cue, Clark's therapist, Mary, enters the picture. She had received a deeply unsettling and cryptic voicemail from Clark on her answering machine, which prompted her to check up on him at the furniture store. Within moments, before she even realizes what hit her, she gets sucked right into that cursed Backrooms dimension too. Man, talk about a plot twist no one saw coming. But what ultimately happens to Clark and the rest of the crew, and what other terrifying entities are waiting for them in the pitch-black depths of this? And will Mary ever be able to find a way out of this living hell? Honestly, when talking about the Backrooms, this review would be completely incomplete without diving into its absolute biggest strength, its bone-chilling atmosphere. The original internet lore of the Backrooms was fundamentally rooted in the concept of a liminal space, that eerie, unsettling transition point between the familiar and the unknown. It's a place that looks incredibly mundane on the surface, cluttered with everyday things from our world, yet it harbors a deeply uncomfortable and strangely ghostly vibe, almost like sitting down to have tea with a total alien. To put it simply, there is something so inherently wrong with every single inch of this mysterious place that just looking at it makes your stomach knot with an unknown terror. You will feel this bizarre terror creeping up from the absolute deepest corners of your mind, yet you won't be able to pinpoint a single specific reason for it. And that's exactly what makes the whole situation 1,000 times more terrifying. The movie brilliantly nails this exact psychological dread right on the screen. This Backrooms entity is essentially a twisted, deeply uncomfortable network of rooms, corridors, and various floor levels that operates with zero logic or rules, stretching far beyond what the eye can see. Every single room is smeared in the exact same color, lit by the same identical glare, and this agonizing monotony creates a suffocating amount of psychological pressure. But the absolute best part is that instead of relying on the typical cheap cliché garbage, ghosts and jump scares usually thrown into these kinds of horror movies, this film shatters that worn-out formula to give the audience a completely fresh and unique thrill. Instead of recycling the same old cheap horror tropes like pitch-black underground basements or dense forests dimly lit by a flickering flashlight, the Backrooms flips the script by throwing you into an environment that is shockingly bright, sterile, and looks so incredibly mundane that it almost borders on boring. But man, the dread this seemingly calm environment injects into your psyche is on a whole different level. It's a deep-seated, bone-chilling primal terror. As time ticks by, this nagging doubt continuously festers in your mind that this entire labyrinth has absolutely no logic or rhyme reason to it. And that's exactly by design, because this cursed place fundamentally doesn't want to be understood by anyone. And right then, a supreme level of psychological paranoia sets in, making you realize that within this endless wall-bounded void, some sinister entity might be lurking right next to you, a shadowy figure that literally just peeked around the corner of the wall and vanished into thin air. It's a sound of some bizarre movement echoing from the absolute deepest depths of this mysterious labyrinth. Out of nowhere, a sudden glitch will flash in the corner of your eye, just outside your field of vision, leaving you completely second-guessing what you actually just saw. Yet, your subconscious mind knows damn well that some sinister force is lurking right there. And this is exactly where we have to tip our hats to the movie's set designers, because the vast majority of the Backrooms was shot on actual physical, practical sets with mind-blowing CGI being used incredibly sparingly for just a few insane sequences toward the finale. Most of the time, everything on screen looks so mind-numbingly realistic that, man, you literally feel like you're trapped right there in the trenches with the actors instead of being suffocated inside some lifeless, dimensional, cheap green screen cage from a generic Marvel movie slop. The movie completely takes its sweet time building up the narrative, ensuring that bone-chilling, uncomfortable dread permanently embeds itself into the audience's psyche. As Clark moves endlessly from one room to the next, the narrative tension gradually escalates to a boiling point. Everything he witnesses leaves him utterly bewildered, yet simultaneously draws him in with a strange hypnotic obsession. You see, professionally speaking, he's no average Joe. He's actually a licensed architect with tons of experience and deep-rooted knowledge in structural design and construction. But what he's witnessing firsthand in this mysterious realm completely shatters every single law of science and reality he's known his entire life. And as the story pushes forward, a bizarre, borderline unhealthy obsession to explore this shifting labyrinth and crack its ultimate secret takes absolute control of his mind. What we're witnessing here is a masterclass in how a fiercely logical mind completely unravels and disintegrates when forced into a supernatural crisis that defies all human reason. However, the film brilliantly anchors Clark's descent into madness through his psychiatrist, Mary. She has been fighting tooth and nail to drag him out of the dark abyss of a bitter divorce, severe alcoholism, and crippling depression, especially since Clark flat out refused to accept that he was the architect of his own downfall. But the real kicker drops when we discover that Mary is harboring some deeply buried psychological scars and dark secrets of her own. And as it turns out, her inner demons perfectly mirror the twisted core thematic essence of this reality-bending Backrooms dimension. And at this point, I've got to give a massive shout out to the main cast of this film. We're talking about Eziar4 and Renée. And yeah, don't even ask me how to pronounce those names properly, right? But regardless, both of them absolutely poured their hearts and souls into bringing these characters to life on screen. This Eziar guy is a pure top-tier actor who consistently delivers a flawless performance, no matter how cheap or garbage the movie script might be. So for this film at least, it felt incredibly satisfying to see him finally land a role that actually respects and rewards his true potential. Now, full disclosure, I'm no certified expert or scholar when it comes to the deep-rooted lore of the Backrooms, its internet history, or the video games based on it. But even so, it's blindingly obvious to me that the core source material was heavily altered and flipped upside down just to fit the mold of a character-driven cinematic narrative. Specifically, these heavy alterations were made to the bizarre, terrifying creatures stalking these halls, shifting the focus onto what this entire mysterious environment actually represents on a deeper thematic level. If you've ever played a psychological horror masterpiece like Silent Hill 2, where the grotesque enemies and even the town itself literally shapeshift to mirror the main character's deeply scarred, tortured mental state, then you'll instantly get a crystal clear picture of exactly what the Backrooms is trying to achieve on screen. Now, this shift might completely trigger the absolute die-hard lore purists out there, but for an average moviegoer like myself, just letting go and immersing into this entire experience was pure bliss. Honestly, a massive issue with most horror flicks is that they almost always fumble the third act, failing to maintain that intense, bone-chilling tension built up during the first half. That's usually because directors get way too bogged down trying to untangle the mystery and answer every single audience question. And right here, the Backrooms unfortunately falls into that exact same trap to some extent. That's not to say the finale was a total disaster or completely disappointing, but after such brilliant slow burn world building and masterfully dialed up tension, the ultimate climax predictably devolves into a conventional formula, leaving us with a monstrous entity frantically hunting our main character down an endless maze.